unless there's a massive disparity that we need to talk about, I just want to let everybody know that our go-to is the AP Top 25 because I believe that, one, there's no conflict of interest in voting for anyone, although some vote like homers. Most, I believe, don't. And two, I think a reporter who prides himself in the AP calls and says, we want you to be one of the voters, I think for the most part, they do the work. Now, this comes from talking to John Adams, who does the work. He spends a couple of hours each and every Sunday doing the work. I don't think most guys do that. I think it's more of a slotting system. That's why I think Tennessee should be in the top 10. And we can talk about specific games, and I want to do that in specific teams that I believe Tennessee is better than. But Caleb, I am going to some extent use the eye test, which is probably the least the smallest factor you should take into account. But I've been pretty good at it, so I'm going to roll with that. So you and I might just disagree on some teams in general. But today's tough question is this: should Tennessee be in the top 10? Who is ahead of them? Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Oregon, Penn State, Missouri, Michigan, Utah, Miami, Southern California. So they move up one spot, just one. And let me get your thoughts on Tennessee. Should they be in the top 10, Caleb?
No, not yet. Now, let me be fair to you on this. I don't think you can. My top 10s are always based on what's been done to this moment. And now I'll give you this. Let me be fair. It's hard to grade quality of opponent because if we don't know how good the teams are, we don't really know how good their opponents are. So I go by levels at that point. Like, okay, you beat a Power 5 team. Did you win on the road or at home? Did you beat an FBS team? Or did you beat an FCS team? Now, I'm not knocking your point. Eye test matters too. And for me, eye test would be a tiebreaker among those teams. Like if 3 teams beat Power 5 teams, I would use the eye test to determine who was better. I can't put Tennessee in that category yet because they didn't even beat an FBS team. They beat an FCS team. So eye test just really has to go out the window. I mean, so as of right now, I can't say they're a top 10 team. And so just to point out, USC jumped ahead of Tennessee in the AP poll. They're still behind Tennessee in the coaches poll. But Dave, if you're doing a ranking after last weekend, you got to put USC ahead of Tennessee, at least for this week, right?
Okay. Well, yes, I think that Tennessee is going to be in the top 10 probably after this week. I believe they'll beat NC State. I don't have my pick coming up. Now, who were the 4 teams in front of them with bad wins or losses? That's what we're going to take a look at. Again, some of this is going to be eye test, but I want you to take part in the new poll question because we got that first one satisfied. In honor of the Duke's Mayo Classic, mayonnaise is okay, 50%, incredible, 39%. That's me disgusting. That's Caleb, 10%. The question is now, should the Vols be in the top 10? It's on our YouTube page. Vote. Yes, they're that good. No, haven't done enough yet. The latter leads 70% to 30%. Now, let me get into why I think that Tennessee is a top 10 team and is getting the short end of a stick because of the antiquated notion of the AP pollsters. They started them at 15. Caleb, you and I would have had them higher, right? Because we know the program really well.
Correct.
So if they had started at 10 or 11, which I would have had them at about 11 or 10 or 11, I would have had them right on the cusp of the top 10. Then they would have been allowed to move up further. That's why I think you turn all of this over, and I'm sure the AP gets something out of it, Caleb, but you turn all of this over to a computer model, which some people absolutely hate, but do that if you must. My other point with pollsters, this should be your most volatile poll. Just like your power ranking, it's incredibly volatile. I don't know where South Carolina went, but they weren't last week. And your power poll was very volatile, and it should be. Now, it's going to start to settle a little bit, but just the fact that there was so little movement, I think speaks to a philosophical problem. Any idiot could watch Nico on Saturday and say that is an elite player. Hit like if you agree. Hit subscribe if you agree. Be sure and turn those notifications on as well. Hit the bell button. So when I look at the quarterback play last week, sure, Carson Beck played great. Knew that. Shedeur Sanders is great. Nico is great. To me, those are the top 3 quarterbacks right now in college football. So given that, having a great player at the quarterback position, they should be higher than what they are. And I'll put it firmly on Nico's shoulders. I think he looked that good and was that elite that you should weigh that in.
Okay, so we agree on everything, but Dave, if you go through these teams, it's really hard for me to say that they should be ahead of a lot of them. Now they should be ahead of a few. I'll say this, and this isn't based on any like feeling or anything like this. They should be ahead of Missouri because Missouri also played an FCS school and Tennessee looked better than Missouri against an FCS school. So they should be ahead of Missouri. I'll give you that. They should be ahead of Oregon.
Missouri is just, for those that don't know, Missouri is number 9.
Yes, they should absolutely be ahead of Oregon, who...
Missouri jumped 2 spots, by the way, for beating Murray State. Now, it was because of losses behind them, but go ahead.
Yeah, and they should absolutely be ahead of Oregon, who also played an FCS school in Idaho and won 24-14. Oregon, this is where the AP voters are ridiculous. Oregon shouldn't be top 10 right now. There's no way you could have them top 10 after watching them play over the weekend, if you're serious. And I say that as someone who picked Oregon to win the Big Ten. But you're right. These rankings are volatile. They should be based on what you've seen. So I will give you those. But Dave, I can't sit there and say they should be ahead of USC, who beat LSU. I can't say they should be ahead of Miami, who beat Florida on the road. I can't say they should be ahead of Penn State, who beat West Virginia on the road. And I certainly don't think they can be ahead of Georgia.
Okay. Well, you picked one that I'm going to disagree with you on, okay? And we're going to run down the ones in front of them that I think that Tennessee on a neutral field would win at. And I realize that's not the way
power ranking.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. But I want to get your thoughts in that regard. Where would you have them if it was a power ranking? I know there are 2 different things. It's brought to you by Work Trucks, all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down and has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships, just can't do that. Contracting is about time. Work Truck saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for work trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with the Napide work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks supplies vehicles to people just like you to get you on the road tomorrow. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks with an X. That's a fact. Service industry. Remember Work Trucks with an X. Work Trucks, Clinton Highway in Knoxville, downtown Birmingham. The entire inventory is online, contractors. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Boom, here we go. I will tell you right now that based off what I saw in week 1, okay, with the eye test and somewhat factoring in what happened last year to give me a starting point. I not only think Tennessee should be in the top 10, I think they should be in the top 5. The teams that I feel like are definitely at a higher level than them right now, and Nico's going to get better, guys. Georgia, okay? I'll give you that. Ohio State, I'll give you that. Again, based somewhat off what they did last year. Texas, I'll give you that. Alabama, they beat Western Kentucky, I know, but just eye test, I think Tennessee's a better football team. And I could be dead wrong about this, and people, Alabama fans, call me out, call me a homer if you want. But that's what I'm telling you. I actually like Notre Dame right now a little bit more than Tennessee, which really surprises me to say so. I like Tennessee more than Ole Miss. I like Tennessee more than Oregon. I like Tennessee a lot more than Penn State. I think the Missouri game last year was fluky, and there was a lot that went into that. I think Tennessee beats Missouri on a neutral field, and I think that Tennessee would beat Michigan, who I think Michigan is going to start the long roll downhill without Jim Harbaugh there. Utah, Miami, I think Tennessee beats as well. Southern California just beat a very good LSU team, or a good LSU team. But I would like Tennessee a neutral site in that matchup too. So I know I'm twisting it a little bit. This is not a ranking. This is more like it's not an AP poll. It's more like a power ranking. Right. Yeah. It's a power ranking. But how does that affect you? The ones that I threw at you, which ones would you have a pushback on? In other words, where would you have Tennessee?
So on power rankings alone, I might actually agree with you. I would even consider power rankings. I might put them ahead of Ohio State. Ohio State looked really bad against Akron last week.
I went back and forth on that one too. But I know I gave Ohio State credit because the Akron guys, that's their Super Bowl, right? So they're going to get their best shot.
Yeah, it's Ohio, and that's a good point. Watch one day LeBron James is going to write big checks for Akron to be great in NIL. He's from there. I guarantee you, watch 10 years from now, he's going to make them a powerhouse. Okay. Georgia, there's no debate. Obviously, Ohio State, I actually think they should be ahead of Ohio State. Texas I understand now. Power ranking, you could actually make a case for Tennessee against Texas. Actual ranking, beating an FBS school does matter than an FCS school. Same with Alabama. Look, I get your point. Tennessee, Alabama, I might pick Tennessee on a neutral field too, but Western Kentucky beating them 63-0 is a lot more impressive of a win than beating Chattanooga 69-3. It just is at this moment. Western Kentucky, say what you want, they are an FBS program and they win a lot of games at their level. Notre Dame beat Texas. I think Tennessee would beat Notre Dame on a neutral field, but them beating Texas A&M, you got to put Notre Dame ahead of them. Ole Miss, Dave, I got to disagree with you. Even on power rankings, now I personally would pick Tennessee because of projections, but based on what I saw, Ole Miss did look better last weekend than Tennessee. There's absolutely no debating that.
Oh, come on. I mean, Lane Kiffin wanted to run up the score. He
pulled off the dogs in the third quarter. Now, yes, Heupel called off the dogs earlier than Lane Kiffin did. But
James Spears only played 10 snaps.
I get it, but we still have to base it off what we saw. And so because of that, there's no way I can feasibly put Tennessee over Ole Miss in a power ranking right now. Ole Miss looked better last weekend. That's not what I think is going to happen throughout the rest of the year.
Tell you what's happening right now is I'm getting mad at Caleb. Come on, Caleb. You're breaking from your wild craziness that we've seen in the past. I am being dead serious when I think Tennessee's one of the top 5 teams in the nation right now.
I am, but Dave, I picked them to win the national title. So I'm extremely high on Tennessee, but based on just last weekend, eye test or resume, you can't say Tennessee's top 10 yet. You just can't.